Now, where is this being live streamed to? I know that's bad English, but
To a
where?
YouTube account
Okay.
for the city, and I think you can access it through the city's homepage later on. I would be happy to send it to you later.
Yeah, that's because that's all new, isn't it?
Do it right now.
No. That's fine. I'm here. I'm just, it's good to know if other people want to see.
Zoom can see it. Okay. Sure. Okay. I don't make it go away. Thank you.
Mm.
Yes, I'm not sure.
The microphones, you should be able to stand anywhere.
Yeah, stand kind of in the middle, a little to the there. I think that's
Okay.
I think that's going to be perfect.
Okay.
And you're going to have to tell me when to.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you all for letting us join. I'm Shannon Slade. I'm a fellow in the Innovation Office, and then Tracy McKee is our Chief Innovation Officer. And so we're here just to update you all on a project we've been working on and to get your feedback and thoughts. So to start, just to, if you don't mind advancing the slides yet. Can you hear me? Or do you need me to speak?
No, I can hear you fine.
On the Zoom, can you hear me so far?
Yes.
Yes.
And also just to provide a little context for what the Innovation Office does, we're part of the executive department, and we basically kind of work on building collaboration and curiosity amongst departments, and also bolstering the city's use of data and improving services for residents. So.
And if you will, because we want to communicate completely, when you see the first slide, would you go ahead and just say the slide says?
Sure.
And read the slide so that we can all know what it says.
Okay, of course. And I can also send a hard copy. So the first slide says, outline innovation training, what we learned, equitable flood event preparedness program, and questions. So this is an outline of just briefly what we're going to talk about. We're hoping to kind of explain where this work originated from, an idea we're thinking of piloting to create more equitable flood response for the city, and then also to hear any questions or feedback from you all as experts. So, next slide, please. So I'll read the slide. Sorry. Innovation training overview, 11-month engagement, February to December 2022. Access to innovation curriculum, coaching, and network of other cities through Bloomberg Center for Public Innovation at Johns Hopkins. No hard financial costs to the city. And our challenge was to build climate change resiliency for those who are most impacted. So to summarize, this came out of initiative through the Bloomberg Center for Public Innovation out of Johns Hopkins. They funded for the city an opportunity for staff across different departments to basically pilot an idea and have access to a network of other cities to help us learn through curriculum and coaching. And because it's Charleston, because we have so many climate risks, our city selected to talk about climate change resiliency and to work really closely with residents to try to improve our processes. So in the training summary, who we interviewed impacted citizens, council, agencies throughout the city, including staff and engineers and architects, and this accumulated in 2 pilots. One was a rapid alert and warning system, and one was the equitable flood event preparedness measure. And just for reference, the 2 images, the top image is Jamie Roper, one of the amazing directors with the city, talking to residents in one of our pilot tests, and then some flooding that we had last year. So the event we're looking at right now, the rapid alert and warning system is being continued through emergency management. They're working on an all hazards mitigation plan that's looking at better messaging around our different hazards. But the equitable flood event preparedness, Tracy and I are sort of driving that pilot into 2023 and trying to turn that into a program we can sort of test. Next slide, please. So we still haven't really streamlined the name, but overall, the problem that we're facing and we're seeing in the interviews we conducted with residents and just sort of over the course of hurricane season last year is that, as we all know, people with physical limitations or without reliable transportation can't access some of the flood mitigation and prevention resources that we have as a city. Our goal over the course of this testing was to provide better service options for those who need assistance, and we started by thinking about sandbag distribution and pilot programs with that. Next slide. So this is one of the process maps. The image is one of the process maps we did to sort of look at where our information flows right now through the Citizen Services Desk and who kind of picks that up and streamlines it along. And what we've continued in through our department is continuing to interview city staff experts, beginning to identify residential populations who we can test questions with, and collaborating with emergency management and environmental services. And up next in June, we're going to be conducting interviews through a pop-up at 2 different senior centers to try to get some feedback. Thanks to Janet for connecting us.
Glad it works.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I ask you what the populations are?
Yes, so for right now, we're kind of considering residents who need extra assistance through other city services already. So we're looking at our trash assistance list or other projects, but we're really going to start by focusing on seniors and people who already have a relationship with the city who also have mobility challenges. So I'm wondering if the best way to read through these, because there's a lot of sticky notes.
I think only read what we heard. Just
Okay.
read the title
Sure.
and then go into. Is it making sense, Michelle?
Oh, yes.
Okay, good. I didn't know how to organize it.
Yeah, thank you. So just what we heard, we're going to talk about the background and sort of baseline information we received, additional services that might be coming out of these conversations, and as well as if sandbags had any impact on people's decisions to evacuate. And these were through conversations with some of our city staff experts who work directly with populations who might need a little more help with these things. So as a baseline, we did find out through these conversations that at the fill stations, people are showing up without vehicles. So people are showing up with bikes, on foot, carrying these 50-pound sandbags, either in a trailer behind their bike or by hand, which is really not the most efficient process. And on top of this, though, staff are incredibly helpful when you get there, we don't always know the need for bags until the calls come in for an event. So it's hard to estimate or predict how many people are going to need help. In terms of thoughts for this process, though we focus in on sandbags, we're also considering what other services go along with this. Should we really be focusing more on assistance before storms, helping people secure heavy items, place sandbags, work more on the mitigation end, or should we be also considering measures for post-event check-ins, making sure people are okay, seeing if they need help with cleanup, things like that. And through multiple conversations, we sort of heard that adding additional services around sandbags won't impact people's decision to evacuate. There are other circumstances outside our control.
Pets. The other circumstances.
Yeah, pets and shelter systems, unfortunately, we don't have control over.
I know, but that's just one of those things you hardly suspect it's going to be pets.
Mm-hmm. There is. I was actually pets. And then thinking about what else we heard, another area, 2 areas we focused on were information distribution and sharing, how people like to receive information, concerns around that, and then comfort with in-person delivery services. So to briefly touch on those 2 points, we need to have more centralized information for city resources, particularly around flooding, and further utilize the tools we already have, messaging systems and communication channels. And our residents receive information from a really diverse range of sources. So how do we better utilize the sources that they communicate with? Apartment managers, senior centers, other places. You should put the arrow to the.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. If not, I can do it. And then using TV, social media, press releases, other ways to distribute information. Lastly, something we're really excited about came from a conversation around delivery services. So concerns for scamming, concerns for being ripped off after a service. How do we sort of as a city help validate services and make sure people are getting the right information? So we are thinking that maybe something to pilot as well would be having a list of the companies.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. This is
Oh,
the
of course.
interpreter for, I'm a deaf person, and I'm not able to hear. I don't know if there's a speaker like in the middle of the room, but I can't
Oh,
hear.
Of course, of course. So I think if you stand, the camera is there. No worries, so the camera is there. How far back do you need us to go, baby?
So the interpreter can't see what's going on, but if there's like a central speaker, like a, oh, she said there's an interpreter in the room?
Yes.
Oh, so then you don't need the video interpreter. Oh, hold on. Oh, hold on. But that person's saying the interpreter that I see on my screen is very small. I'm not able to get her any bigger, so I can't see her on the screen.
Is there a virtual interpreter as well?
I don't know.
She needs to
You
select.
probably can't share the screen and have the person. You might be able to put the screen share and the public meeting room side by side.
Or maybe you could join us.
It's still small.
I don't know how. This is my first time using this. I have no experience. But the interpreter, the little picture is tiny. I can't see her signing.
Janet, maybe she can sign into my laptop and as another.
The ASL interpretation is her expertise, so we're just gonna see what we.
Another computer would be helpful.
There you go.
Okay. I'm not sure.
Yes, she said, I'm sorry, I can't see the interpreter. I can see the one that's talking right now on my VP, on my video phone, but the problem is that interpreter can't hear what's being said because people are too far from a speaker or something.
Okay, so they're saying that Daisy has a video relay interpreter with her on another device. So she's watching here, letting us know through a different interpreter that she can't see.
Okay. How can we
And she's
facilitate?
saying, yes, I can see the Zoom.
I think if
She's on the phone.
As long as you guys are screen
She's on the
sharing,
phone,
you're
it's
not going to
really-
be able to get the public meeting room large.
Well, I did that.
The only other way I think is to not take away the PowerPoint.
That's okay. We're
but,
towards the end.
Oh, that's
Or-
interesting too. Okay.
Stop share. Sure.
So stop. Okay.
And then I have an iPad here, if that helps with anything.
that may help if I could be one of those screens.
Oh, she said, oh, that's great. Whatever you just did is fabulous. I can see now. That's great.
Sorry about
She
that.
said, okay. Oh,
Taking away the
okay, yes,
PowerPoint
that's
made
great.
it larger.
We're learning.
Right now I can see much better.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You are crystal clear, baby doll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and she said, if you keep it as it is right now, then I can see, okay? So we're gonna disconnect the video interpreter.
Okay. Should we go forward?
Or backward.
Also can't see.
Right.
That's the problem.
That makes
I
perfect
can't
sense.
even see if she's responding.
So I can give you my iPad and that way I can log into Zoom and have that for the sign language interpreter.
That works. That's my other or another computer. So there's the,
I found Daisy.
help. Kind of. Can you see now? Yes, she's saying yes. Okay. Okay. Does this work for you? Okay, she's saying this works. This is okay. And I'll just, if someone could just let me know if she,
Alex has an iPad for you, Amanda,
okay.
with just Daisy, I think. Oh, thanks, Lana.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it. So weird.
Yeah, it's all weird.
It's a new world.
We agree with you completely.
Yeah.
But
Next month will be smoother.
Yes.
we're getting there.
We made great progress. We had an ability to Zoom now, so we can meet every month.
And we have ASL translators all the time. We have large print.
Okay, so then maybe is
And
anyone using that
Alex, do
table?
you have, I think,
I'm trying to get the link, I know you sent it out.
oh,
You need the typo?
no, he needs the link for, oh.
Do you mind? I could just sit and then Zoom with her and she could.
Oh,
walk
sure, do
through
whatever in the
At the
world.
same time, does that make sense? I'll just pull the chair.
Whatever
and put her
accommodates
next to
you is fine with me. I just don't know how to.
Um.
Good point.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I just figured that I don't look like them.
You found the address, Alex? Okay. So for the people at home, do y'all understand what we're doing and how we're putting things together?
Absolutely. I think it's great.
Good, thank you.
Rome was not built in a day.
No, it wasn't.
You don't have to let people in.
I do have to let people in, but I haven't seen anybody try to get in. Oh, wait. My mistake. The first one I made today. Score. They wanted me to mute mine. You
I've
probably
muted this
know
one
this.
too, yeah.
Amanda, please tell Daisy how happy we are that she's here.
She said, yes, I'm Daisy.
Just saying, yes, I'm happy to be here too.
Good.
I'm so happy to be here too. Hi everyone, I'm Daisy. This is my first time joining, so hopefully this is a good experience and then from here it'll only get better.
It will.
Yep.
Oh. Actually, this and the election of officers was about all we had on this meeting.
Okay.
Because I knew that there were potential hiccups.
Okay, this is exciting.
The EOC at Berkeley County provided us, the number one call we got was about.
Really?
That was the number one call that we did, sandbags. And the other thing was people not really understanding when to evacuate. And then new people totally unaware of what to do. Kind of scared to death. There are those people that are gonna dig their heels in and they're never gonna go anywhere, unfortunately. I know Ben.
Yeah.
I know Ben.
Yeah, working out there comes 7 years, yeah.
I'll probably never evacuate. I spent all those years with the city,
My mother's the same way.
but I spent all those years with the city where I couldn't evacuate. So I'm used to it now.
It really surprised me the number of new people that just really didn't know what to do. And then if you call the evacuation early, like that happened one time, nobody was really ready. And my only concern about all the sandbags is that people are gonna get a sense that
Good?
it's
Yes.
they should evacuate.
Oh, that's one question. I asked if there was student experts, they weren't as worried about it, but we want to ask that of residents too. Once you make decisions, I will notice.
Yeah, psychologically, you think you can put it up and put it up and put it up, and there's just and they're heavy.
Let me spot, let me
Well,
spot,
now they
like,
have
the
those
camera.
automatic
Yeah,
bags
that would be
and
great.
everything, yeah.
Work.
Because I remember the big thing was when they bought those automatic, the automatic machines to bag everything, that was the big thing.
Did it work?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We're thinking about that.
Oh, you gotta have one, because it's just a two-hand machine.
Right now we have staff with shovels.
That's ridiculous, no,
People
that,
come with shovels.
that's
with
absurd,
shovels.
that's, I didn't realize the city of Charleston didn't have one, that's just.
The city of North Charleston fills the bags for people. They have slightly more staff maybe, but
Everybody.
Excuse me.
Did you, I thought you had public meetings.
Just ask out
I
loud.
thought you'd have public meetings.
Can anyone
we've
see
had it.
the ASL interpreter,
Yes?
like Annette and Marka and such?
Yes, we can.
Okay, look at Marka speaking in ASL.
I used to know a little bit of sign language, but now my fingers don't work to do it.
I had to ask Daisy, she's not.
This might be on the second page.
I can see her.
We
I'll
can
find it.
take down the slides.
For this
I'm
time,
probably
it's
still
just-
really.
Sure, and I can email slides out.
She's on her phone.
It's not shown an iPad, so my guess is that's probably just.
You might need to
She's on
change
iPad
the
then.
view.
Stop share. Okay.
Just to see.
I'm so glad we have
Okay,
Tracy here.
Daisy's saying yes, that's so
I
much
know,
better,
you're
I can see you now.
Good, good, good.
I think we're doing great.
Okay, you're saying great, I can see the interpreter now, that's great.
So where were we? You were telling us that you were
So I think
the ancillary things.
no worries. So I think we were talking about just kind of wrapping up, and then wanted to get your initial thoughts from all of you about potential services that would be most beneficial, if this is the right direction, or if there are other services related to flood preparedness that might be maybe a different direction. We just want to make sure we're really best utilizing our time and resources for residents. So this to finish, something that was very exciting that came out of this this last few conversations was the idea of having a list of companies with proper business license who would be able to be on the city website, sort of provide a sense of security when people are hiring someone after a storm to prevent fear of being scammed, and we know that's a pattern that's very concerning. And across the board, as we all know, to have a better range of languages, font sizes, communication options to make everything more information available for all. So I guess to sort of wrap up, some questions. This is a bright focus area. Is there enough demand for the service? Does it create enough impact based on your own expertise? And who else should we talk to? What should our next steps kind of be? Right now we're thinking of launching a pilot program. Before we do that, we wanted to collect a little more feedback, both from you all and also from additional residents. So we're going to be doing 2 pop-ups at a senior center, 2 senior centers in June, which we're very excited about, to solicit feedback from some residents. So open it up to you all, and thank you again for letting us join you. So I really appreciate having that opportunity.
I was finance director at the city of Goose Creek for 19 years. So my thoughts are all on the after. My biggest problem there was people getting ripped off from contractors. great to put everybody's name on a list. People won't read the list. The important thing is, I think, is to get people from the city out driving the streets and literally stopping at every place that they're putting on shingles or whatever. Because most of the people that come into town don't come into town to be nice. I hate to say that, but that was my experience through a whole lot of storms in 19 years.
So the city would go out and sort of check.
Yeah, and that's what we would do. I would send the building inspectors out, would go out, and my business license people would go out and just drive the streets and stop at every house and ask them for a permit, a business license, and then they'd also call the city. They'd call into the office and would verify that, because if someone's there illegally, they're probably going to give you illegal information.
Yeah, my concern was about the sandbags would give people a false sense of security, and I'm all for getting the machine that does the sandbags. Yes, we definitely, and Nat, I know Annette has something to say about this.
That's muted at the moment. Annette, do you have any thoughts that you'd like to include?
I'm having a little bit of difficulty hearing some of the conversation. So I just need to ask people to speak up a bit. My concern, I think a lot of these things that you've been talking about can be very, very helpful. My concern is the communication methods. You cannot assume that everybody has a smartphone. The information needs to get out on other media, like on the TV, perhaps on the radio, especially. I know a bunch of people who don't have smartphones or don't know how to use them correctly. So things that are being pushed through may not necessarily be available for them.
I think that's a really good point, Annette. I think there's so many people that just assume everyone has access to a website.
Yeah.
And that's not the case at all. And Charleston has such an aging population along with the disability population. They kind of go hand in hand.
So we just need to be creative about thinking of venues of communication.
Is there a method you all have found that's worked particularly well outside of this? Sorry, I speak quietly, I apologize.
That's okay. Annette, she's asking if there's a method that you found
That's worked particularly well.
we got tracked down.
Flyering, mailers, in-person outreach at farmers markets, things like that.
Well, something that would be very, very helpful is just, I know with the newspaper, they send me insert about hurricane season, and that kind of information being included with the comprehensive know about the hurricane season stuff. The other thing, again, is to not discount newspapers. Also, standard media like TV, not just ahead of time, but also as a storm is coming up, to get it out there. The other thing that I've also noticed is that on the websites, for example, South Carolina Emergency Management is not necessarily up to date quickly with, for example, what services are available, what shelters are available, that kind of thing. So that would be helpful too, to try to encourage things to be as timely and as up to date as possible.
And I don't know if this, we've talked in the past about registering people, and maybe not I mean, we get into that registration thing can be, kind of a gray area, but maybe putting it out that people who want to be notified can get on a list
Yes.
so that they will be notified in other ways besides social media or smartphones, etc.
I agree on that one.
Are you talking about the north, the storm
I'm sorry.
flooding? You're talking just
I didn't hear.
monthly flooding, the high tide flooding, or are you talking storm flooding or
Well, I
both?
think for sandbags, it's definitely, sandbags are gonna be for a storm, so
Right.
definitely would. But, part of the discovery is, right, kind of aiming to even build a pilot on, or are there more pressing services that we should be thinking of? So I would say we're still in this kind of very exploratory, trying to understand what the needs are and seeing what kind of thing we should be piloting to really increase, access to all these services. Or are there things that we're not doing that citizens expect us or need us to be doing?
And yet, are you clear on when to evacuate and when to leave? Because you-
I'm sorry, you have to speak up a little louder, please.
Are you clear on when to leave and when?
I try to follow what is being said on the television. And I wait to see what the governor's declarations are in terms of storms. When it looks like it's going to be recommended evacuation, that's when I start to take a look at what the shelter situation is and to start to make plans.
As far as the program goes, I think it's truly needed. Charleston pretty much is, as someone else said, an aged community. We have a lot of people with disabilities in Charleston. We have a lot of people because of the large apartment complexes and don't have vehicles. So we really do need a program like this for those people. And the registration list is a phenomenal idea. Some people are going to tell you can't do that. It violates HIPAA or it doesn't violate HIPAA, but everybody's afraid of HIPAA.
Well, but that's why you do it for people who are interested.
Right, right. Those that want to do it can do it.
Right.
You call first and say, hey, here's the schedule.
And thank you for your perspective of how you make your decision of when to go. That's, I think, good information. And Annette, when do you get the $1 bills?
I'm sorry.
When do you go to the bank for all your $1 bills?
Well, it's no longer $1 now. It's at least 5 or 10.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, exactly. And I already have made my trips to the bank to get them.
I thought maybe you had. Okay. Annette, ever so briefly, all the announcements that say when you leave, you need to take with you X gallons of water for every person for every day. How can we better communicate that you don't need to do that if you're going to a shelter? I don't think you do. Have you?
Well, the thing is my experience going to shelters have been totally mixed in terms of what they provide. There have been some shelters like the last one that we had, which was Ian, when Ian kind of bounced off our coast. We weren't sure if it was going to be coming through here. So I went, there was only one shelter open. I went there and they provided all the meals, water, et cetera, et cetera. They already had cots in place. They did not have a generator, but they had everything else in place. But others that I've gone to basically will provide water, but it was just snacks available and not full meals and not cots and blankets until a couple of days in.
Thank you. I appreciate that perspective. Other thoughts? So, may I offer for all the commissioners, if you have further thoughts you'd like to talk to city staff more about this, let me know. I will put you in touch with Shannon and Tracy or whomever. I don't know that we'll get Ben in just yet, but we will get him in the eventual. But also, if y'all have questions back to the commissioners, do I have permission to contact you if they have special requests following up on something you said?
Absolutely.
Yeah, fine.
Thank you all so much for
Yes.
your time on this. This has been really helpful so
It's
far.
okay.
We'd love to stay in touch and keep you posted as this moves forward and we get additional feedback too. And yeah, thank you again. Really,
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you for all your work.
Appreciate it very much. Thanks. So it's 4:39. So next time when we do this, I will bring my computer glasses.
How do we know if that's on there?
I can't see the screen, which is frustrating. No, I got a close up of Amanda. But now we're going to work on the vote for the commission chair, the vice chair, and the secretary. Y'all are welcome to stay, or you're welcome to leave, whatever suits you best. At our last meeting in April, we had a slate nominated with Ron Ferretra as the chair, Alex Jackson as the vice chair, and Bonnie Gilbreth as the secretary. Are there any amendments to the slate? Are there any changes? Any discussion? This is to hold these positions for a year, 1 year. So that I think it's time to vote. I'd like to have all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Slate's complete and adopted, and at this point, I'm turning the meeting over to Ron,
Okay,
who's our new chair.
Alexa gente.
thank you all. Hopefully I'll do a good job. The first thing I think we need to do is approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Oh, there's a thought.
Anyone have any changes to the minutes from the last meeting?
Did I get a second?
I have a motion to approve them.
No, I didn't get a second.
Oh,
Second.
I'm sorry. Alex seconded. Those are approved. I do have a couple of thoughts. Let me get on the list, make sure we didn't miss anything on the agenda. My first thought is it was very depressing to me last year that we did not meet in November or December because of the room availability, et cetera. But now that we can Zoom, I would like to make sure that we meet every single month. I think that we don't send the right message out to the world when the ADA Commission doesn't meet every month. So I'm gonna, I guess, make sure we try to do that. The other thing I'd like everybody to do is think about something that you'd like to see changed. Something that the city's not doing right. And I'll give you a great example. Repainting handicap parking spaces at of the park facilities was overdue probably 3 years ago. You can barely see them. And that's not a real big task.
How about city parks?
Yes, all the city parks. So if y'all would come up with something like that, that we can present to the city and say, hey, we need to do this. The city needs to be in the forefront of ADA. The city needs to not sit behind the grandfather rules that are out there for ADA. And I think we can all think about different city facilities. Pools obviously come to mind to me because I swim every day. But there's other city facilities where they've done major renovations and they really didn't bring it up to 100% of the ADA code. They just brought it up to the minimums. And I'd like to see us really push city council to get every facility that the city owns to be 100% ADA compliant. Anyway, does anybody have anything that they'd like to offer?
I do. At several, probably many of our meetings right before the pandemic, we spent quite a few months actually going over a list of prioritization. I mean, probably 4 or 5 months, I believe. So I was wondering, is there any way that we can pull that list we looked at before, because we spent so much time prioritizing it? And even if we need to do a quick, okay, we decide to do this one first, or this has already been done, instead of starting from
Maria?
scratch. Yes. Mm-hmm.
We can't hear you. I don't know how to hear you better.
Okay.
Speak louder, please.
You sound muffled, Maria. Are you using a headset or something?
Nope, not at all. Just directly.
That's better.
If I just type, can you see the box, the chat room? If you can read that.
Yes.
I'm in the meeting again.
Maria, I think people can hear you better if you just speak really out.
Mhm. Can you all see the chat room?
I do. It says,
Okay.
the chat box says, during our meetings before the pandemic, we spent quite some time prioritizing this list. And we pull from that to review instead of starting over. I have the list. Yes, I can share that.
Yes, bring that next time, please. Or before next time, send it to us.
I apologize. What list now? Sorry to hear you. What list?
There's a list that the previous rendition of the commission had put together. And we hadn't created priorities, but we had put together a fairly extensive list, and we can work with, I will send that out.
May I say something? Hello?
Ed?
This is me, this is Marka speaking. There are two things that I am concerned about and have been. Number one is police involvement in protecting people with disabilities and our parking spaces and similar incidents. How do we get the police department on board with following traffic laws, particularly ticketing, and then getting judges to make people pay those fines? And the other thing is inspectors. I'd like to know who's inspecting new construction. Particularly, I went to a play, and this is an example, called, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Huriali on James Island, that opened up, I think, in the fall.
What sort of facility was it, Marco?
It was a house, it's now a restaurant.
Are you sure it's in the city of Charleston?
I thought so. They have a location on Hugie Street as well.
You spell the name to me. We're having some trouble hearing, and I would like to follow up with that.
Huriali.
Got it. I'll look into that.
Yeah, they opened, and there is one cement pad in the back of the parking lot to get up to the restaurant. And then the rest is gravel, rock. So there is no way for somebody in a wheelchair to get into the restaurant unless they get that one accessible spot in the back of the parking lot. So
I'll
the
be
question
happy
is,
to look at that.
and if it's not in the city, I'll be surprised because it's a lot of where the city has taken over buildings in Riverland Terrace. So if I'm wrong, I apologize for that. If it is the city, I'd like to know what inspectors are looking at properties as they're being built.
And the one on UG Street,
There's one on Hugie Street. The address is 401 Hugie. I have not been there, so I can't speak to that one. But I'm thinking if they have one property in the city, they probably are. Because it's all local.
Anyone else?
I was unclear about the issue with the police. They're not, I don't understand, I think. What was
Well,
the
I guess what I'm saying is how do we engage police to pay attention to parking and ticket?
And we
We
have
should
had,
not have to police ourselves. When I go to park and there's somebody pulling into the blue stripes and I say, please don't park there, and people ignore me, why aren't the police actively giving out tickets for parking spaces, for example? How do
we've
we
had several meetings even with, we've had several meetings even with the police for Charleston County. It's been quite some years, maybe there's a new turnover, and we kept saying the same thing. If it's not enforced, it keeps happening. It happened last weekend when I was at the event. I've only had one time so far here where a cop moved the car. It actually had it towed away when they were coming down. But other than that, so it's probably meeting with those officers again to see if there's something that's going to be, do their job now. There was even an app, the Park and Pal app. I can't remember the exact name, where we could take pictures and send it out.
Yeah.
And if
But
we
you have to be able to.
for the area, which is not it's not as safe. But even so, we did that for years, and it still never generated enough for them to start it here.
No.
So it's just
Let me
meeting with the
interrupt
local
ever so
police again.
briefly and offer for you, if you'll send me the name of the place or the address, like Walmart on John's Out or whatever, send me the name and the address and I will create a list and pass that on, because technically our police don't do that. It's parking enforcement, so it gets a little sticky there. But if you'll send it to me, I'll be responsible for passing that along. And if we can give the parking enforcement a concrete list of how frequently it's happening and where it's happening, I'm sure that they will pay attention to the patterns.
and will they ticket on private property?
We'll ticket on private property if they're able. So if the Walmart says this parking lot is under the jurisdiction of the city of Charleston, they can ticket. If Hurriali doesn't have a public parking lot, they can't ticket.
That was going to be my question, because about 6 months ago, I was at California Dreaming and somebody parked. It wasn't even a handicap spot, but they parked next to me in a construction zone. But I still couldn't get into my vehicle. But I had to get California Dreaming to call the police for the police to come out. And so basically it was private property, and California Dreaming had to authorize the police to come tow the vehicle. So.
If that's something that the commission would like to have a focus on, in addition to other things or instead, whatever, in hierarchy, I think that it's entirely reasonable for the whole commission to come together with that sort of focus and try to convey our concerns from that perspective.
Well, I would like to move that we maybe take on this issue as a group, maybe even just working on educating the public on parking and the needs, like public service announcements or something like that. And maybe educating people with disabilities who drive and park or out there maybe they need to know, like Alex, you said, California Dreaming had to approve that. I never knew that. So that's, I mean, maybe there are things that we need to know if we're stuck in the situation. I don't know.
And if we need to know and we find out and see if what we can change too, maybe the people at that parking lot would be just as happy for the city to have jurisdiction if we approach them.
And I believe parking was addressed, and that was one of the hot issues.
I think it was too.
Yeah.
I had a quick question.
I didn't hear that.
Monica,
I didn't hear the last.
I believe if we see that list that Marco wanted to see again from a couple of years ago before COVID, I remember lots of discussions about parking
Thank you.
and also shelters were big.
And there's a lot of city facilities that do not have adequate handicap parking either.
I had a quick question for Marka. Do you still make your plant handicap parking signs?
I do. Do you want, I can bring them to the next meeting, or actually what I can do is share the PDF. So then people can print them out.
I don't know if that's something like the city could like sponsor, and Marka makes these cards with the ADA parking law on them. And if we can, as a commission, pass those out on behalf of the city, or I don't know what we can do from that perspective, but use that
I
as
think we just need to send the PEOs there and give them a ticket.
yeah.
And I think it needs to big ticket.
I'm afraid to confront people.
I
I'm
don't
not
mind.
afraid to confront people at all, but
But I think it could be a good campaign for us to help educate. And
you're nicer than I am, obviously.
I mean, I want them to get ticketed as well, but we also have to educate at the same time. So
Well, and I will defer back to Ron because
I think Alex has a good idea. I think there's probably city events that take place that, we could have a stack of those cards sitting on a table, or we could pass them out to people. But again, the city needs to get proactive in making sure that the spaces are adequately marked. Because some of the places, if it's dark, you can't tell you're in a handicapped spot.
saying that aloud. I've been working hard on getting lights in certain alleys because that's another consideration. I just like to hear somebody else say it besides me.
If you want to let me share my screen, I can show you really quickly what the cards look like. But I know we're short on time as well.
And I have an issue I'd like to bring as well.
All right, well, I'll just send the PDFs.
Yeah, that's a good idea because I
That'd be
frankly don't have a clue how to do that. I'll know for next time.
Is it okay for me to speak now?
Certainly.
Okay, my main concern is, as a person who uses the wheelchair, all of these accessibility issues with, ADA compliance and parking is important and is of personal interest to me. But I also want to make sure that it doesn't become the dominant driver of the commission, because we're representing people with a bunch of different challenges. I want to hear from Daisy. I want to hear from folks who need visual supports as well because of visual impairments. What would be helpful for our commission to do to help support them? I think we need to be careful that we're even-handed.
I absolutely agree with you.
And I'd like to ask that, tell us what the problems are, but give me specifics. When I have specifics, I can go see about them. I can go to that restaurant, see what I can find out there. And as Barbara D'Elia left, she left a letter. One of the things she left in the letter was that we should have an accessible crossing space at the intersection of Calhoun and Rutledge. And I thought it was there because the engineers I had been with on site and I had discussed it and they said they would put it in, but they didn't. And so she said, I really think we should have that accessible crossing space. And that's now back in the works and I'm going to be all over it. Nobody's gonna tell me again, I'll do it and not do it. That won't work. So give me a specific, I'll chase it down.
And that's what I mean by, you know, people who are out there inspecting, like the work that's being done. Who's following up on work that needs to be done?
There are dozens of them and they do different phases. It's real, there are dozens of people doing that. And so we have to spread our message kind of wide. For what it's worth, and this is Janet speaking still because I'm just hogging everything, but I got director approval so that I can print out probably a monthly ADA pro tip to share with city staff.
Good.
So that monthly I'll send out a tip, whether it's about parking or inspections or how to secure an ASL translator, interpreter, or any of those things. So I will start that though, probably not before August. I've got to get a lesson plan together and haven't done it yet, but that's coming. That will help with the inspectors, but it will not cure it. We need to do more for the inspectors. You're right, Maria says that's why we need to prioritize the list, pick 2 or 3 and run with it. And Marka agrees.
I agree.
I think we all agree. We just need to do it.
Yes. We need to become.
I think that's why we're all here.
You have to be very vocal to city council. You have to not just present stuff to them, but you need to talk to whoever it is your representative. Get on his email list and make sure that you email him on a regular basis with your concerns. Because otherwise, very little will get done.
Very little, but not enough.
Right. Right.
Sorry, I've been running in place here for a while.
Yes, you're correct. Not enough stuff will get done. I think Charleston's way behind the power curve. You know, it's up to us to keep the pedal to the metal and keep bugging our council members and our mayor and say, hey, this needs to get fixed. It needs to get fixed today. Do not put in the budget for 2028.
Did you say 28?
I did. I did, and unfortunately, I'm serious about that.
Sadly, yes.
Although, in fairness, because, you know, we have to be fair, the ADA federal statute says that cities and small governments can be compliant by creating a transition plan with a timeline. And there's no end to the timeline, which is perhaps their mistake.
Yes.
So.
That's why I said 28.
I know, I do. Exactly.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything? Well, we're a few minutes past 5. But if anybody else has anything, we can hear that. If not, our next meeting will be June 23rd. Same time, same place, same station. We'll have better Zoom stuff set up, I think. We learned a lot today. So we'll get it better next time. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Okay. You don't even need a second for adjournment.
That's true.
Well, thank you, Ron, for leading your first commission meeting.
I
Thank
think
you for taking that job. Yeah.
Daisy's just trying to make a comment quickly.
Sure.
So deaf people, you know, maybe there are like 2 or 3 deaf people who live on a street. I think that maybe we could use a sign or something like that in that area that just mentions, you know, just be more cautious. There are deaf people in the area.
Oh, good idea.
You can't hear certain things when you're deaf. So just meaning that people will be more aware. Oh, there's deaf people here. If there's a kid running across the street that doesn't have any hearing, maybe they can't hear my horn honking. So just maybe of signs would be a good idea. That's the only comment I have as a deaf person, is that if multiple people or if you live on a block, we can get some signs installed.
And I think that would happen to
It's a good idea too.
Good.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you, Daisy.
All right, y'all enjoy Memorial Day.
Be safe.
For those who gave all.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Lots of them.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
You as well.
Same.